Yeah, welcome to the Eric Optional podcast, where we kind of talk about what is really important in like shipping products, where regulation is part of the build. So, shipping a product is hard. Shipping a product in a regulated world is even harder, especially with AI. So, basically, this podcast is for founders, product, and tech teams who want to move fast and build trust. So expect some short practical conversation or reg ops, compliance by design, audit-ready workflows, and systems that help you ship without creating chaos later. So for this first episode, I'm joined by Michael Borelli, director at AI Partners, for a short practical conversation on what the AI Act means for builders who want to ship real products in Europe. So Michael, welcome and thank you for being here for this first episode. Would you like to say a few words about yourself and your firm?
Konstantinos, it's a pleasure to see you. Thank you so much for having me. It's a great privilege and honor to be your first guest. So thank you so much. It's a very interesting time in AI governance at the moment, and hopefully we can share some useful insights and snippets for your audience.
Yeah, I think so too. So I think we can start by, let's say, digging into a question probably a lot of founders building in Europe are thinking or considering right now. So do you think actually the AI Act is slowing innovation or forcing companies to build better products?
So you're speaking to someone who's been a fan of regulation for their entire career, and I do fervently believe that the EWA Act will force better innovation. There is an old maxim I believe that or is on the lines of struggle. Great innovation comes at a period of struggle, or when you're depleted of resources or time. And what the UAI Act essentially does is it puts certain restrictions in place. It means that the innovations that adhere to these and circumvent, or rather have are designed to overcome these and offer novel solutions, will undoubtedly bring products and services to market that don't exist today. I do believe that it will have a certain standard will be established, most importantly. So there'll be very robust systems, controls, policies, and procedures expected. So the standard of innovation will be raised, albeit I do acknowledge that a lot of people may feel somewhat aggrieved with this process because it's going to, the barrier to entry has just gone up higher. So whilst AI allows more and more people to enter the market because it lowers the barrier to entry, it's combined with a higher barrier to entry introduced by regulation. So it nets itself off in that sense.
Right, I see. Makes sense. Makes perfect sense. So if you were like to build the same, let's say, AI products in the EU and the US, what would you build differently on day one because of the AI Act?
I would always strongly encourage, we tell our clients and we tell our partners to go for the highest standards, which is called gold plating, which essentially means that you adhere to the highest standard regulations globally. So any other market, it essentially gives you global access to that. That's an unwritten rule as such, but it means that you can, you will be hampered by any other regulations. So if you go to the most stringent and strictest, which the EU AI Act is, obviously gives you access for EU27 member states. So I know you're calling it from Greece, one of those, but also the US, either if it has regulation that isn't as stringent or not at all. By having these standards, it essentially gives you market access, but you also have to take into account the other considerations as well.
Right. I think it makes perfect sense what you're saying. So where do you see, let's say, the biggest time delays in like go to market? Is it, you think, data governance? Is it like compliance, or is it like risk assessment? Because there is a lot of things that you need to comply with when it comes to the AI Act. So what do you think are like, in a nutshell, the things that you see, let's say, the biggest delays at the moment?
I'd say it's all of them. I'd say that you can't. I would never encourage or try to assign a high degree of weighting or importance to one element over another. That being said, I do see identifying AI systems and risk classifying them to determine the risk level. So KYC, as your listeners are probably aware, is where you identify and risk assess a client in terms of the risk of money laundering, high, medium, or low. The EU AI Act requires you to do KYAI, know your AI system. So you have to risk classify an AI system based on the risk of harm to an individual's health, safety, and fundamental rights. So the KYAI process, so steps 1 and 2, how many systems do I have and what are the risk levels? These are the fundamental steps before you even consider all these other complex stuff. The other complex requirements may not even apply, depending on the outcomes of the KYAI process.
Do you think actually there are a lot of people out there in Europe that actually are aware of the KYAI process at the moment, especially for early stage founders, I would say?
I would probably guess not, and it probably the founders' mandates are to get their product to market as fast as possible. Not whilst being whilst adhering to the regulatory requirements, but I think one of the factors that the regulation itself is extremely complex too. It's quite long, 144 pages. Even if you have generative AI to summarize it, it is still very complex. 3, some of the parts are moving, so a digital omnibus is changing some of the provisions. I caveat by saying none of the substantive or core obligations are changing. So this is a very, very important aspect to be aware of. So all these things in combination, and there are others, make this very difficult for one to be aware of the KYA process. But because AI partners have been in the space for 6+ years, we are very into the weeds of things and aware of the KYA process from cradle to grave.
Oh yeah, makes sense. So I want to ask you like one last question, which is kind of relevant to some extent at least. So the EU actually recently introduced initiative like the EU Inc. actually to make company cooperation faster. Do you think that Europe needs a similar fast track approach for launching AI products, especially under the AI Act?
Would you mind sharing that last bit again? Sorry.
No, I'm saying that, sure. So the EU recently introduced the EU Inc., which is basically a faster way of incorporating a company in EU. Exactly. But do you think that Europe needs a similar kind of like a fast track approach for launching AI products under the AI Act?
Yeah, it's similar. That's a really good point. And I'm really happy you said that. It's 2 things. I would say to your question, yes. And that is the purpose and goal of the UAI Act. One of them is to create a single market for AI products. And it's very similar to how MiFID 2 did for financial services. So create a passport regime where you could passport your services across Europe. So if there was a passporting regime similar to MiFID 2 for financial services with the AI, that could really help drive forward European innovation and founders out there, or anyone building or using supplying an AI system to be able to move without friction. I love your point there, though. That's very, very interesting.
It seems that we need to have a separate discussion around this point. So I think I'm going to start, let's say, as a key takeaway here, and I will start with your last point that I guess I think what you said is quite important. You actually need a passport, let's say, for the products in Europe. So I think there needs to be like a longer discussion around that. I'm also keeping here from our discussion that basically it's important that companies undergo what you said, a KYAI, similar to the KYC, but KYAI in this case for AI systems. I think we need to dive into that in more detail, probably at a different episode. So I keep these 2 points from our short discussion. So yeah, I really want to thank you for your time. And I'm sure we're gonna speak again and analyze more some of these topics.
Amazing. Love to have a follow-up conversation. I think it's always difficult to get everything in one go. Um, Again, very grateful to be the first guest on this, and I look forward to seeing you grow and you know cover various different aspects as the page gets more following.
Sure, sure. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you, and we'll be in touch. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye bye.